Welcome back, everyone. Today, Alex and I are discussing how cultural expectations can sometimes get in the way of effectively setting and pursuing our goals. Let's get into it. Alex, you mentioned that cultural expectations can be a barrier. Can you elaborate on how you've seen this play out in the business world?
Yeah, I'm going to use a really, maybe at first, a strange kind of analogy. But if we recall back to before COVID, it was commonplace that when you ordered takeout from or delivery from a pizza restaurant or Chinese food or whatever, once it was delivered to your home, the delivery person would ring the doorbell, and then there would be a handoff, an exchange between of the pizza for the cash or for a signature or something like that. But it was my experience that I expected that it was somehow like courteous for me to greet that person that was delivering the food. But then when COVID happened, we weren't able to greet, right? We didn't want to risk endangering each other. So it became commonplace for the delivery person to just leave the delivery on the doorstep. And then we'd step outside and go pick it up. So the reason I feel like this is related here is because so often we are doing things in our business processes, in our recruiting processes that we do only because that's the way that we've always done them. And we're not considering whether or not we really need to, or that they're even like the most effective ways for us to get what we want. So let me just carry this on a little bit further. I think we're naturally, when we hear me talk about this, we think about, Alex, like how hard is it to open the door or whatnot. But I think if we take on the perspective of the delivery driver's experience is optimized because all they have to do is ring the doorbell or set down the food, take a picture, and walk away. They don't have to wait for the person to open the door. They don't have to wait for the change. First instinct is always, oh, this is more polite. But if I was optimizing for the delivery person's experience, man, I think I'm optimizing for just to drop off, take a picture, and go on your merry way. Tyler, do me a favor. I feel like I'm really stretching on this one, and people might be like, gosh, Alex, what are you talking about? But could you take a swing at summarizing this and maybe making the argument for it?
Sure, Alex. I think I see where you're going with this. So, in essence, the pandemic forced us to reevaluate and change our behaviors, right? We went from having direct contact during a delivery to a no contact approach. And while that initially seemed less personal, less courteous, it actually made the process more efficient for the delivery drivers. They could just drop off the food and go. Now, translating this to the business world, we're looking at how we might be stuck in certain ways of doing things because that's how it's always been done. But just like with the delivery changes, if we take a step back and reassess our processes, especially in recruiting, we might find that some of the steps that we thought were necessary or polite are actually not serving us or optimizing the experience for everyone involved. So the big question is, are there processes in our businesses that could be reimagined to be more efficient? Are we holding on to practices just because they're traditional, not because they're the best way to do things? It's all about challenging the status quo to find better ways to achieve our goals. Does that capture your point, Alex?
Yeah, Tyler, I think that's a great summary. I couldn't have said it better myself. Can we provide the listeners some examples?
Absolutely. Let's dive into some concrete examples. So, Alex, one area that comes to mind is the traditional job interview process. Many companies still rely on the old school method of multiple rounds of in-person interviews, but as we've seen during COVID, virtual interviews can be just as effective and far more efficient. It saves time for both the candidate and the employer and can even widen the talent pool since location is no longer a constraint. Another example could be the annual performance review. Historically, many companies have conducted these once a year, but is that really the most effective way to provide feedback? More frequent, smaller check-ins could be more beneficial for employee development and engagement. What are some other examples you can think of where cultural expectations might be holding businesses back?
Yeah, I think that one is in scheduling, and I think the Calendly revolution has been huge. The amount of time that is lost in the scheduling process, in just the formality of, are you available at this time? No, are you available at this time? That whole email back and forth, the text messages back and forth, not only does it cost us a lot of time, it also costs us a lot of psychic energy that basically it reduces our enthusiasm for any process that starts to build up that much friction.
That's a great point, Alex. The whole back and forth of scheduling can be such a drain. Tools like Calendly have streamlined that process, allowing people to simply share their availability and let others book a time that works for both parties. It's a great example of how rethinking even small processes can lead to significant improvements in efficiency and energy. And like you said, reducing friction in these interactions can boost our overall enthusiasm and productivity. So for our listeners, think about areas in your business where you're experiencing unnecessary friction. Are there outdated processes or cultural norms that are slowing you down? By challenging these and seeking more efficient alternatives, you could make a big difference in how smoothly your operations run. Any last thoughts on this topic, Alex?
No, Tyler, I think we nailed it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your insights, Alex, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Remember, sometimes the way things have always been done isn't the best way forward. Challenge those norms and find what works best for you and your team. Until next time.